Welcome everyone! Today we will query data from a local SQL Server database using the three common relationships: one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many relationships using an Ask.NET Core Web API. So go to Visual Studio and create an Ask.NET Core Web API. Define the name, select the latest version of .NET. We will use, in this case, migration to perform code-first migrations. The first step is to install the required NuGet packages. The first one is the SQL Server package to connect with the local database. And the second package is the design entity framework package to perform migrations. So install the NuGet package. The second step is to add all the entities, all the models required to associate or to create the SQL relationships. So we'll add a new folder called entities. The most important entity is the user entity, which contains the primary key, the ID, it will contain the name, and the SQL relationships. The first relationship is one-to-one with the address. The second relationship is a one-to-many relationship, and user has one or many products. Okay, define the type and the name. This is a list of products, and the address, we will add the foreign key for the address ID. Okay, will be an integer property. We have the product, the one-to-many relationship, and the final relationship is a many-to-many relationship with an entity called coupon. It will be all the coupons. This is products, this is plural. Okay, so add these entities in the same folder, address, which will contain two simple properties: the primary key and a street number. Okay, the third entity is the product class with the primary key, title for the product, price, and a navigation property using many-to-many relationship to access the list. Sorry, this is not a many-to-many relationship. This is a one-to-many relationship. So we need to add the user ID navigation property. And the final entity is the coupon entity, which corresponds to the many-to-many relationship with the user. So this coupon will contain the ID, the code, and a list, the navigation property, a list of user. And that's it. We have all the entities required to handle SQL relationships. I will explain the many-to-many relationships from the Microsoft article. We will add a join entity which will be the intermediate class that we will use to migrate data to define a user ID and a coupon ID in this intermediate table. We can skip this intermediate table because Entity Framework Core under the scenes can handle this connection between the tables. But for this demo, we'll use this intermediate table. So let me add an entity called user coupon, which will contain both foreign keys. The first one is the user ID and the second one for the coupon ID. And then we need to add this declaration in the model creating method. We will set the data to perform or to add the migration. So I will add a little bit later. So now we have the entities. Now we will add the context class to define the DB sets and to set the data. So add a new context class, which will inherit from DB context entity framework core. Create a constructor. We will define the typical DB context options and pass it to the base class, and then define all the DB sets that will match with all the entities we have. The first DB set will be the address model with the specific table, the coupon table, and product, and two remaining ones, the user and the intermediate table as well, user coupon, for the many-to-many relationship. And that's it. Now we will override the onModel creating method to add or to seed data. How to seed data? Let's go to the specific article, Microsoft article, which we can seed data and apply migrations. How to do that? We'll use this line of code. First of all, we will seed simple data for each entity, for each table. So for address, we will define an ID and street number. The second entity is coupon by defining the ID and a code. This code will take any value, and this is the coupon class. The next entity is for product with ID, with title, shoe, price, and the user ID, the foreign key. Okay, next one, the most important, the user with the ID, the name, Paul, and the address ID, this the one-to-one relationship. Okay, and finally we'll add the user coupon foreign key values, new user coupon, which we define, we pass the foreign keys for user ID and for coupon ID. Remember that we explicitly need to add this declaration. We're using an intermediate table. In this case, the entity is user, which will contain one or many coupons. And the coupons will contain one or many users. Okay, and the intermediate table or the join entity class is the user coupon class. That's it. We're now ready to perform or to add the migration. So let's build a solution, build succeed, go to the official documentation about the migration. But before that, we need to install the EF8 command line tool. By running this command, I already installed it, so I'll skip this command. And the second command is to update to the latest version, to .NET 8. So copy the command, execute it in the console. As you can see, I have the latest stable version, that is the 8th version. So far, so good. Now we're ready to perform migrations. So this article from Microsoft helped us to create the migration, copy this initial command. But before adding the migration, it's important to register the DB contents in the program.cs file, get the DB contents, add the DB contents, add DB contents, right? Yes. Which will pass, you need to type the contents class, and then the options will be use SQL Server by passing the connection strings in this field as a parameter. So I have this connection string. There's a local instance created with Docker. If you want to learn how to run a local database SQL Server instance using Docker, you can check out my repository pattern video. I'll provide the link in the description below. We've added the DB contents, and now let's build a solution, and we're ready to add the migration. So let me go to the documentation, copy the first command, execute it. As you can see, we have the migrations folder, and now we will create the schema and update or seed data from the defined tables. So click the console, go to the official documentation and copy this command to update the schema, execute it. Okay, there's an error with this globalization environment mode, so I will ignore this parameter by assigning it false, this environment globalization value. Click the console and run again. Okay, the database schema is created, and the data that we define the onModel creating method is added. So now we will query the data from our API using the most important entity, that is the user entity. So go to the controllers, the default controller, rename it as user controller, get rid of this sample code, and create a new HTTP GET method that will return enumerable of type user at the reference and get all, and then return. We need to inject the context by a method injection and return context that the user, that is the DB set, to access to the user table, and then we will include all the relationships. The first relationship is the one-to-one relationship is the address. The second relationship is the one-to-many with the products, and the final relationship is with the coupons, that is the many-to-many relationship. So that's it. We can see that the coupon has reference to the user. It can create a referencing cycle. So to prevent this issue, we need to go to the program.cs file and add in this add controllers function the following code. So we need to add these JSON options in the add controllers, and then in the reference handler property we will pass the node cycles value, and that's it. We can test the API. Using the Swagger UI, we will execute the get HTTP method. As you can see, we have the response body with the information about the user, the ID, the name, the one-to-one relationship, the ID, the street number, and the products. This is the one-to-many relationship with the ID, title, price, user ID, and the many-to-many relationship with the coupons, the ID, the code. So that's it. We're querying data from the user table, applying the three common SQL relationships, one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many, using .NET A with code fast migrations by using entity framework call.